Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing well. Here where I am, it's a beautiful rainy day, so I thought that I should sit down and film a video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my top parenting mistakes I've made since having children as a young mum. This has been a video that I've been meaning to make for like a year now. I just really haven't sat down to actually process the mistakes I've made and kind of like look inwards so that I can make the points for this video. Because it is difficult to acknowledge the mistakes that we've made as parents. It's really hard to do that. But I've really been looking inward lately and trying to improve on myself and constantly improve on my parenting as well. And I thought that this video might be helpful for you. Maybe you're a new mom, maybe you're a first-time mom, maybe you've had lots of children and you just kind of want to know that there are other people in the same boat as you. We are not all perfect. We all make mistakes. And so if this video is triggering to you in any way, please feel free to click out of this video. I do not mean this to be shameful to anybody. I just want this to be a helpful video that people can come to for advice, or you can also just learn from my mistakes. So without further ado, let's get into this video. Mistake number one is listening to the advice that everybody else gave me and trying to apply all of it into my parenting. This can have to do with anything such as like sleep training, or what your children should eat, how much they should sleep, how you should get them to sleep, what you should do with them during the day to make sure that they develop properly. There are a lot of sort of old wives' tales around child rearing that can like really cause a lot of anxiety. And I felt this myself the most in sort of feeling a bit pressured to sleep train so that I do not, create a rod for my own back and, have children that cannot independently soothe themselves. And so I kind of really got trapped in this circle of feeling like I was never doing anything right and I should be doing all these other things and not going with what my gut told me to do as a mother. And I think that that's something I've really embraced. The second time with my second child is just not listening to what everybody else has to say. Yes, people can give us good advice and it's really, really helpful to take that and sort of acknowledge that and mix it up and turn it into what is useful to us and to our child, because you as a mother, you know what your child needs best. And so just go with your gut. That's kind of what I've learned a lot more, not just listening to what everybody else has to say. My second parenting mistake is telling my children things before they are finalized. I've never really thought about this before until recently. My daughter is now 4, turning 5, and she has a really good understanding of things in life, the way things work. And she gets disappointed if we tell her certain things and then they don't come to fruition. For example, a while ago, we went through this phase where we thought we were going to homeschool, and we kind of went over it with our daughter and discussed it because she came to us saying she would like to homeschool, and we kind of got her a little bit excited about it, and we talked about what that might look like for us as a family, and then we never went through with it. And I think that on our part was a mistake, because we should have gone through all of the points to really, finalize, are we actually going to do this? And yes, I know that there needs to be a constant communication with our children. What if it's something she didn't want? So I could have, I guess, hinted and suggested about it, but we really did go so far as to say, okay, next term you're not going to school. And then we backed out of that and we didn't continue. Another one is we were going to get a puppy quite recently, probably in June, July this year of 2022, and we kind of got really excited about it. We were looking at photos of puppies and we were like, which one do you want? What would you call it? Getting her like really excited. And like recently we've kind of realized, I don't actually think we're ready for a puppy, because we still have a baby who wakes up multiple times a night and we're not ready for that yet. We want to do a lot of holidays this coming year and next year, and then what are we going to do with this puppy? And so we kind of had to pull back the reins and say, listen, I don't think we're going to get a puppy just yet. And I don't like disappointing her. And I think that was a mistake on our part as parents, for sure, because we should have been 100% sure that we're going to get a puppy before kind of getting her excited for that. And I have like so many examples of this. And it's something that I'm really, really trying to work on, because I'm somebody who gets really excited about stuff and then I want to tell everyone about it. And so I need to pull back the reins when it comes to my children so that I don't get them super excited about something that's not going to happen. My third parenting mistake is competitiveness amongst my children to get things done. Now, this is something we did for quite a long time, and it actually had a really negative effect on my daughter, more than my son, because he's still really small. He's only 1.5 now, so he doesn't quite understand the same way she does. But we would create competition within them. I don't know if this makes sense. So for instance, when it was bath time, we'd say, oh, who can get in the bath first? Or, who can eat all their dinner first? Or who can get dressed first? And this really caused a lot of anxiety in our daughter, because she would feel like she had to rush everything she did so that she could do things before her brother did them. And on doing a little bit of research on this and kind of thinking for myself as well, we realize we're kind of teaming our kids up against each other, which is really not what we want for our family. We want to have a united family, not a family where our children feel like they have to compete for our attention or our praise. That's not what we want at all. So what we've sort of done to try and reverse that is actually create a team of our children. So we say things, for instance, like, I wonder if my 2 children can get to the bath before I do. And then we kind of have like a little mini race and make it playful and fun, where my children are working as a team with each other, so that, I can praise both of them when they get there. Like, well done, you guys did such a good job. You're working as such a good team. And just trying to make it also more fun and not so much competitive with my children amongst one another. Which has actually really helped a lot, and it's strengthened my children's relationship with one another, because they don't feel like they're teaming up on one another to get my praise, or to be the winners and be the best at everything, because we can't always be the best at everything. So, oftentimes, I'll admit, we do kind of let them win, but not every single time, because we do have to learn to be good losers, I guess, in that sense. But this has really worked for us, and kind of, I think that was a huge parenting mistake on my part, which we did for quite a while, and I could really see that had negative effects. So I think the way we've turned it around has worked really well for us. I hope that's helpful to someone. Point number 4 is pleasing other people at the discomfort of my children. And I know that sounds like, whoa, it sounds like really intense, but there were a few instances where, for instance, maybe a family member that we don't know so well, or just a family member in general, or somebody else who's really good with kids or has their own kids, would say to me like, oh, give me your baby, and I'll soothe them, or I'll put them to sleep, or I'll feed them. And I'd be like, oh, okay, like you can try. And I kind of let them persuade me to help, even though I knew in my heart that they actually wanted me. And this happened a couple of times, and mostly with my daughter, with my first child, because I wasn't as confident to say, listen, no, that's not what she wants. She wants me to do it, or I know how she wants it. She needs me, to put her to sleep, or whatever the case may be. I would let other people do that for me because I wanted to please them. And I felt like, oh, well, they're older than me, so they must know better than I do. And I didn't believe in myself to know that I actually know what my child needs, and what they want right now. So for instance, things like they can put my child to sleep for me, or they would feed my child, or they would soothe my child when they got hurt. That happened a couple of times, and I could see them, I could see her like crying in someone else's arms and like looking at me like, come and get me. And I kind of stood back for a little while thinking, this person must know, know better than I do. And instead of, now I would just jump in and say, hey, listen, my child needs me. I'm going to take them now. Thank you for, trying to help, but that's not what they need. Take them and do it myself. Because I just felt like I had to please everybody around me, especially family members that we hadn't seen for a long time. So that was actually a big one. And I still feel really guilty about this, because I don't want to cause unnecessary trauma for my children, or just make them uncomfortable and feel like I'm, they can see me and I'm not helping them. Like, I have a lot of guilt around that. So I've sort of been trying to work through that. And it's something that I don't do anymore. I know what my children need, and I am strong enough in my parenting right now to say to another person, thank you, but no. Point number 5 is pouring all of my energy and all of our attention on our children only. And not asking for help or not focusing on what we need as parents, and the fact that we also still need to have a healthy marriage and a healthy relationship, which needs time and effort to work towards that to make it great. Because having a child is so exhausting, especially in the first year, and I'm pretty sure lots of parents do this. Let me know if you do. I think it's pretty normal to focus all your time and all your attention on only your children, and it's so exhausting. Now that we have a second child, we do ask for help a lot more. We ask grandparents for babysitting a lot more than we did with our first child, which is really, really healthy for us. So we can do date afternoons. It doesn't necessarily have to be a date night, because I know that nights are tricky for parents and tricky for children, especially if they need their parents to go to sleep. So, we even take time off maybe on a weekend in the afternoon, and we just spend time together, or we spend time doing things that we need to do. So maybe my husband will take the kids and I will go and do my nails, or I'll just go have a coffee, or I'll go read my book, so that I can fill my cup up, so that I can be a better parent for my children. Whereas I find in my first year of parenting, I really wasn't good at balancing my life out. I focused all my time and all my attention on my child, and I sort of neglected my husband and the things that I needed to take care of myself. So this is a huge one for me that I'm also just constantly working on, like fixing and getting better at finding that balance. But this is a huge one for me, and it's really hard. It's really hard to get the right balance, but it's important for us as parents to fill our cups up so that we can be better parents. My sixth parenting mistake is believing that all of the positive and all of the negative things my children do are as a result of my parenting. I forgot, not that I forgot, but I guess I didn't recognize that, my children are their own people. As small as they are, they have their own mind, they have their own free will. I cannot will them to do something. Yes, I can teach them, I can be a good role model, I can parent with kindness in hopes that they would sort of mimic that and always do the right thing as to the best of their ability. But there are going to be times where our kids do things that are not right or that are not positive. And I would feel that as, well, I'm doing something wrong in my parenting. That's a mistake that I made on my parenting. And sometimes it actually is. But oftentimes it's just taking on a guilt for something our kids did when they're just exploring the world. They're trying to figure out what's the right thing to do, what's the wrong thing to do, and we're there to help them navigate that and to learn to become the best possible version of themselves. And so it's important not to take that on ourselves as seeing that as, well, I must have done this many things wrong in my parenting because they did this one thing. So for me, that's something I've really had to learn, is the things that my children achieve is because of their hard work. The things that they maybe do negatively is just something that they're working on and something that they are learning. It's not that it's a mistake that I necessarily made. So I try no longer to sort of take that guilt on, because they, as much as they are a part of me, they are not me. They're their own people. And so they need to explore the world in their own way. And I'm just there to guide them and to be that person for them to lean on and to learn from. So yeah, that was a pretty big one for me. Point number 7 is a really sensitive one for me, because it's something I'm still working on every single day, and I have a lot of guilt around this. So if you also have guilt around this, know that you are not alone. And this point is directing my anger and frustration onto my children when I'm either in a really bad mood or I'm just feeling like really overwhelmed, and they've maybe now done something that triggers me. And I get frustrated with them, and I'm more frustrated than I should be. And I think this is really easy to do, especially as a parent. You're just exhausted, and your children are maybe nagging at you the whole time, and you just snap, and you get so frustrated, and you maybe say something you normally wouldn't to another human being, or you make them feel really guilty about their behavior, which for me is a huge one, and I feel really guilty about this, and I'm still working on it every single day. But my children are not there to be my punching bags when I'm in a bad mood. I shouldn't act that frustration out on them. So what I've kind of learned to do now is take a breath, and if I'm really, just really feeling frustrated, I will say, listen, mommy just needs a minute. I'm gonna take a breath. I'm coming back in 2 minutes. Just wait a second. And then I'll turn around, or maybe I'll go outside, I'll take a couple breaths, I'll calm down. And I know that walking away is not always the best situation. I mean, it's not always the best response to every situation, but sometimes it's necessary. And I just calm myself, and then I go back and I explain the situation, maybe why I felt frustrated, or whatever the case may be. But sometimes we also have triggers within ourselves that get triggered from what our children do, maybe due to something that we experienced as children or growing up, or whatever the case may be. So it's just so important to always look in and introspect and just think like, why am I acting in this way towards my children? Did I overreact, and why was that? So this is something I think is very normal in parenting. You know, we are pulled very thin, and it's very easy to snap and overreact, but it's something that personally I know that I've done wrong so many times to my children, and I always apologize and kind of really be open and clear with them, and just really sincerely apologize to them. But it's a huge one for me. I'm still working on it. I'm sure a lot of you watching this have experienced something similar in your parenting, or the same thing, and just know you're not alone in that at all. I think it's very normal, but it's something I'm really working on. Yeah, that was a hard video to make. Oh my goodness, really acknowledging the things that we do wrong in our parenting. It's really hard. It's so easy to become just like a wall and let that wall go up and like not accept our own criticism on ourselves. But I'm really trying to, so that I can become the best parent possible. Anyway, that is the end of this video. I really hope it helped you. Please give us a thumbs up and a subscribe and a like. Leave us some love below in the comments. And I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.